Hey everyone, just talking about ellipses and circles with the graphing project, and just wanted to mention that some of the cases we're going to look at are basically looking at round parts of our graph or of our figure. So you may have a lot of round parts, you may not have a lot of round parts, but anything that's circular or semicircular is a good candidate for circles and ellipses. So I kind of have my equation over here of my standard ellipse that I have a defined somewhere else, so that's why I'm using a1. But it's just the x minus h, right, over a quantity squared, the y minus k over b quantity squared equals 1. Adding those, and then I have this term in the middle with the x and y terms that are in those parentheses times this c, and that's going to help me skew things if I need them a little diagonal from where they normally are. So when I'm taking a look at this, right, there are some places like, say, this hand, where the top is very round, but then it gets very straight. That is fine for doing the top with an ellipse, but I'm going to want to restrict it and then change to lines at some point. Something like the eye is probably also a good candidate. It's nice and round. Maybe not a circle, but probably some sort of ellipse, things like that. The ears as well, maybe able to get the whole ear. This one gets kind of flat on this part, so maybe I can't get the whole ear, but maybe I can get kind of close, try to get most of it. So I'm going to do right now the eye. We'll just try to do that real quick. That doesn't look like it might need any skew part, so I'm going to try it just with that C is 0. And then we'll widen this out to about 1.3. Raise the B up a little bit. Looks like maybe 1.6. I can kind of drag that down a bit more now. Might want make that A. You can even adjust even finer, right, if you want to type some stuff in. So maybe 1.33, and then we can put it there. So that's looking pretty good. I might make that B just slightly smaller, move it over a bit, see what we can get in there. So that's looking pretty good to me. I got B is 1.5, A is 1.33, and I just need to restrict it. The problem with restricting on ellipses is sometimes you want to cut across a diagonal. So you can't just say I want x or y bigger than this and x always less. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to try to cut this along diagonal right here. It's especially good when you're trying to shade and stuff like that. Keep this part in mind. So I'm going to put in a new equation, and I'm just going to kind of guess and check at this one. So we're going to start with y is x, and I'm going to change that so it's not red. We'll change that to maybe a purple color. And then we want to go up here. The y-intercept would be right here around maybe 10.5 is a good start. So let's say x plus 10.5. All right, so that would be there, and then you can modify things, right? So the slope doesn't need to be quite that big, right? I can have maybe a 0.9, maybe 0.8, we'll say 0.75, something like that. And then maybe I'll just lower it down a bit. So instead of 10.5, maybe 10.3. All right, maybe that's too much, maybe 10.4. So that's looking pretty good, right, for where I want to cut off that ellipse. So we want all the y's that are bigger than that line. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my ellipse equation, because right now we just have the slider version. So this is going to be my x minus h. So my h way down here, negative 0.65. So we'll put in plus 0.65. That is going to be divided by my A1, which is 1.33. So I'll put that in. that gets squared. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that. So copy, and then we'll arrow over plus and then paste. The C, right, is 0, so actually I don't even need this part. This whole middle term is 0, so I just need the Y. So I'm going to change this now to a Y, and then minus our K. Our K was 10.39, so let's say minus 10.39. And then divided by the B, which was 1.5. That is going to get squared, and then equals 1. All right, so there's that. So there's that new, right, ellipse, and then we're going to restrict it, right, so put in my curly braces to y bigger than or equal to this line I just found, that 0.75 times x plus 10.4. So notice now that blue is now restricted to that piece, right, and so that's what I would want for those. If you're going to use something like a greater than or equal, right, or actually less than or equal, that will shade inside the ellipse. Greater than or equal will be outside the ellipse. So I want to shade that in white, right? I could go ahead and do that and just need to pick a white color to get that eye shaded in. And then I just need that to be black without the inequality for the line. So I'm going to put that back at equals. I'm going to change that to black equation, and we'll make that maybe something like 4 thickness and call it good. All right. So there's the eye, right? Now maybe let's take a look at the ear, something that's skewed. So the nose, the ear, right? There's lots of things that maybe are kind of elliptical, but they need just slanted a bit from usual. So this one we do want to slant a bit. So I'm going to get somewhat close, right? And then you can just drag your C, right? Whichever way you think you need to. So it looks like we'll need C is negative for this one. So maybe somewhere around here. Negative 0.7, we'll try that. And then the A and the B, right? Can also drag this around. So we're kind of close. Need to modify it maybe just a little bit. So that A is looking pretty good down here. The B we might can make a little smaller. And that's looking pretty close. Maybe we'll not have to skew it quite as much. Maybe somewhere in that vicinity. And I would say that's looking pretty good for our purposes. Maybe we'll just do this and a little bit more on the B. Skew it a little bit more. The more you skew, right, I'm going to put in a 4.5 for this one. You just go back to the 1.4. And we'll say, don't need it quite as skewed. So this is probably good enough if you really wanted to try to make it flat, but don't forget this is going to be kind of zoomed out, so it doesn't have to be perfectly exact, although sometimes I like to get a little bit closer than some of those on that. So kind of up to you how picky you want to be on some of these guys. So I'm going to say that's looking pretty good. Another thing you can try some of these is put in, instead of square power, you can put in like 2.4, right, and that'll make things either a little more pointed or a little more wide, stuff like that. So this is, you can change the exponents a little and get some slightly different shapes, right? If I wanted a more kind of diamondish shape, I can make this like a 6, right? This isn't what we're going to do for this one, but oh, now I need to export it back. Right, so put that in. So you can even get some more squarish type shapes just by changing that exponent there. But we're going to leave those as squares. So let me go ahead and put that back. So let's say we'll call that good for now. I may modify that a little bit in the future, but just for my own purposes. But for the video, we'll say that's good. Um, let's go ahead and write that equation down, right? So we want to do something like that, and then again, we'll want to restrict this kind of on that boundary right there. And I'm going to scoot this over just a little bit. All right. So we're going to say, all right, this equation, I got my x minus h, all right, so the h at 3.85, and then we got that divided by the a1, right, which is 1.4. That is squared. And then we'll do our plus c, or in this case minus 0.66. And then we're going to just copy and paste this x term. So copy, paste that x. The y will kind of do the same thing. We'll type it and then copy and paste it. So we got y minus k. The k was 12.78. So we'll do that. And then we want to divide that by the b, which was 1.4. So we'll go and do that. And then plus, right, that same y term, just copy and paste, and then square it, right? And you can always drag this, right? Sometimes these comics can get pretty long, so you can always drag that if you need to. And then we got our equals 1. All right, so there's the outer edge of the ear. That's right there. Now we just need to do the inner part, right? And then we'll talk about some of the shading on that a little bit. So let's go and do the inner part, and then we'll go in between. All right. So I'm gonna, now that I have this, right, I can redrag this guy to wherever I want it. I'm definitely gonna want those A's and B's to be smaller. All right, so can modify those a little bit. We might want that C, right, to get that's a little less diagonal, a little more diagonal. Maybe just scoot in that A term a little bit more. And something like that is looking pretty good. All right, so I'll say that'll be good for that guy. And again, kind of copy and paste in the numbers. So I'm going to pause the video just so I can type it. You don't have to watch me type the whole thing in. All right, so I got that inner ellipse put in. So this is that purple ellipse and no longer tied to the draggable point, right? So I can drag that away. That's still going to be there. We're going to go ahead and try to shade this in black, right? So I'm going to restrict this, and I might want to use maybe like a exponential or a quadratic just right across that curve right there, just so we can get the restriction. Let's go and see what might work for that. All right, so I'm going to say, I think I have something down here. Here's some quadratic ones. All right, so there's my H and K. I'm going to hide that ellipse now. That's right there, and we'll use the A that's over here. So go ahead and drag that over to here. Change the A, right? Maybe somewhere in this vicinity, right? So I'm looking at just trying to restrict across that whole edge right there. And you know, while you're doing it, if you don't have that edge defined, might be a good time to define some things, but we'll go ahead and just do this right here. So I think this is looking pretty good, right? Just like that. And we'll go ahead and put in our restriction right there. I might even lower that just a little bit so we can get all of the black in there. All right. So this equation right here is how I want to restrict. So our A is negative 0.26. There's our H and K. So I'm going to type it just so I can copy and paste it without having to scroll. So I'll say y is this negative 0.26 times the x minus 2.19 squared, and then plus the 13.32. All right, so this is the restriction I want. So I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste that up to here. All right, and I want y's that are bigger than that curve. All right, so bigger than or equal to what I just put in, and I don't need that y equals anymore. And I'll do that on both of those, right? So now you see that green curve is restricted. All right, so there's that one. And then I also want the restriction, copy and paste that on this other one. All right, so now there's the restriction on the purple. If I want to shade, right, I would say, so this is going to be shading, and we're going to need lots of space for this. So if I want to shade, I can say less than or equal, right, to 1 on this part, and I will shade that. If we want outside of this purple, I want that purple to be shaded bigger than or equal to. And I'm just going to put this whole big, right, restriction, copy, paste. So this is going to be another really long parenthesis in there, right? This is our extra restriction. We want this to be bigger than or equal to 1. So that'll shade outside of that gap that's right there. So that's how you can shade in between two ellipses, is find the equations for those. One of those will be like your main equation, so that's the one that's way over here. And we'll just make this really big right there. So that's this first part. That was our first ellipse. All right. Then I got the line restriction, so I'm not going into parts that I don't want to go into. And then I got the inner ellipse restriction that's right there. And that'll shade right just in that part. You can go in, change your colors, all that good stuff, but that is kind of how you can work with ellipses. So you can do lines, then you can do shading, you can even go in between pieces using those, as many as you want, extra restrictions that are afterward. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you on the next video.